Hello, I'm Christina, and I'm here with Martina,
Hello, welcome everyone.
and we're your podcast hosts for Everyday Ordinary, Extraordinary Women. We were inspired to create this podcast after pondering on this question. What would a world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Usually, we are very quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody's losing. Depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options from that perspective, and neither of those options make us feel very good. So here's our thought: someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from first impressions. So we invite you, the listener, to go beyond your first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There's inspiration at every corner in everyone if we're willing to look. And today we are joined by Sophia, who's a multi-dimensional creative, and we are so excited to hear more about you, Sophia. So, Sophia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, ladies, and thank you so much for what you are offering the world through this amazing message that is profound and needed. And I'm honored to be a part of this message with you. So thank you. My name is Sophia Lily, and I describe myself as an intuitive, an empath. I call myself a rose quartz crystal girly. That way you can as soon as you picture a rose quartz, I feel that's how that's the aura that you would see if you met me in person, was that rose quartz color. I'm a creative artist, so I like to dabble in everything artsy fartsy. That's the best way that I like to explain it. If it's artsy fartsy, I'm about it. I like to dabble in film, photography, and even podcast production myself. I am a content creator. I like to help artists get their content out and spread their brand. I'm a model. I am a musician, a pianist, guitarist, mostly a singer. That is my primary instrument, is my voice. I cantor for church services. I sing. I'm a performer, but one of the biggest things that I do is I teach music to students of all ages. I love that. And I am a dog mommy. I am a wife. I am an angel healer. And I'm a proud queer member of the LGBT community with my wonderful wife of 4 years.
Mm, Beautiful. Thank you. You know, rose quartz is all about love, right? I don't know if you
Yes.
know that, and that is so you. You know,
Mm.
I remember the first time I saw you, it was just like this light shining and this power, but sweet and soft, but this deep power, which was
Oh.
just so delicious. So thank you. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for, it's like every person you touch because we need more of that,
Mm.
right? So,
Yes.
so Sophia, if we really knew you, what would we know?
That's a great question. If you really knew me, what would you know? Um, I would hope that what you would know is that my heart is pure and that I'll make mistakes along the way, but I would hope that you would know underneath it all is the intention to leave someone better than I found them. And I would hope that my deepest friends and my deepest relationships would agree with that sentiment, that I will always try to leave someone better than I found them. And being a lighthouse in a world that can be very not always light, is so imperative. And so if someone really knew me, they would know that I am so goofy, truly
Mhm.
so goofy, so quirky, so dorky, so dork, total dork, goofball, but that also I really, really love to leave people better than I found them.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But definitely goofy. For sure, goofy. Like if you really know me, then you know exactly what I'm saying right now when I say I might present. I think I think that's one thing too. So I'm a Pisces rising, and I don't know if you know, if you're invested in your signs or anything like that, but if for anyone that's listening that does know about our rising signs, we have, you know, our standard sun sign. That's kind of like the sign of the zodiac that we're the most familiar with, Scorpio, Capricorn, Cancer. But we also have our moon sign and we have our rising sign. And I'll admit that's the extent of which I know about it. I'm not an astrology girly where I could go down a whole, you know, wormhole about it all. But what I do know about our rising sign is it's how the world perceives us. So our sun sign might be about our personality, but our rising sign is how the world sees us. And I'm a Pisces rising. And the thing about Pisces rising is we are very amiable. We are very go with the flow. We're water signs. But also, there's this dreamy kind of effect of us where you don't always know where we're landing. You don't always know what you're getting from us because I think we're very chameleon-esque. We can chameleonize to a lot of different environments. And so, to go back to that question that you asked, if someone really knows me, they know that I'm pure of heart and that my intentions were good. But not everyone gets to see that right off the bat because the way that I present, sometimes you receive me the way that you want to receive me. And it can be kind of confusing for some people.
I can get that completely. I remember having a conversation with one of Martina's children way back when, where she was pissed off at how I spoke to her brother. And I remember having a conversation with her later and saying, like, can you just trust that anything that comes out of my mouth is coming from a place of love? And then try to see if you can understand what I was saying. And when we had that conversation, she was like, "Oh, yeah, now I can." And I'm like, "Can you now trust in the future that if something that comes out of my mouth doesn't sit right with you, can you be like, oh, how was that trying to be a loving statement? And then if it doesn't, then come have a conversation with me. But just always trust I'm always going to come from a place of love with you." And I
Right.
think when people are grounded in that, you can have these conversations. It makes it
Agreed.
so much easier to be like, wait, I didn't like that. What did you mean by that? But
Totally.
normally we're so, I don't know, judging of what comes out of other people's mouths, and then we don't have those conversations because we just label them, and that's the end of the story, right?
Yes. Yes. And there's this element of humanity that I think we are all trying to change, that it's a cutthroat world and that we need to knock out the person above us in order to succeed. And that is all changing so much. I feel as though we are really coming out of this industrial, commercial place, and we're still there in a lot of capacities. But I feel like the work of the hearts, it's the hearts that are changing things, right? Our minds might be, you know, still kind of in that go mode, but I feel like our hearts are changing now to where we can come from a place of pure love and operate from a place of pure love and be met with others in a place of pure love instead of pure competition or just, you know, malicious intent. And there's still absolutely malicious intent out there. But I think that energy workers and heart workers are finding one another and lifting up together and getting more of that love in this world.
Absolutely.
There is, you know, I always say is that most of the times we're not responding to the person in front of us. We're responding to the conversations in our heads. And malicious intent comes from hurt people.
Right.
So but as long as we're trapped in the conversations in our heads, we cannot really hear people. So it's a little tricky. to find our way out of there, because we've been hurt as well. So whatever is being said, like we, instead of taking a deep breath and just really listening, we just bring our arms up ready to defend ourselves, right? And that's,
Yes.
as Byron Katie says, defense is the first act of war, right? It's really, it's beautiful what you're saying, but it's just such a big subject, right? Just right there. It's like,
It is.
whoa, okay, where do you start, right? Because it's really like it starts with my healing.
Agreed. I agree. Yes. And I've been fascinated with the idea recently, just in the past 2 months even, of am I really listening when someone is talking to me? Or am I getting my response ready? Am I really hearing what this person is sharing with me of this mutual experience that we had together, where they had one complete experience, but I had a completely other different experience? Can I meet that person and understand their experience without defending my own? And that, like you just said, that's the internal work. When we do that soul work, I think we can actually listen to what someone is saying just to understand them, but not because we are bullet pointing, well, how am I going to respond to that?
Well,
How am I going to defend myself?
it's a different kind of listening, right? Alison Armstrong talks about listening to understand rather than listening to agree or disagree.
Right.
Which is a completely different place to come from when we're having conversations. And it is very, very challenging because if we get shaken to our core, right? It's like, I'm going to talk about the political climate right now. It's like, if you, it's like our nervous system is on high alert. It's challenging to
Yes.
step into that place of really listening from trying to understand or agree or disagree. Because if you agree or disagree, immediately you're like, oh, I agree. Okay, yes, you're my friend. Or I disagree. It's like, ready to fight, rather than, okay, can you explain to me how you come to this conclusion? Can we open up a different conversation? But it's simple, but not easy. It's one of those where it's really simple, but not easy.
Agreed. I would love to hear more from the both of you about how you have come, how your relationship with your own defensive nature has grown throughout your life. Were you more defensive when you were younger? Have you become less defensive as you've gotten older? And how has that morphed and changed for you? And I ask that because I'm 31 years old and I used to be so defensive. Like
Yeah.
I needed to defend everything. And when someone was coming, expressing something to me, I wasn't listening, I was defending. And now this world is opening up to me of what is it like to not defend myself? I'd love to hear what it's been like for you.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question. We don't normally get questions, so I think this is a cool one. I'd say so. I am an Aries with a Leo rising, and
Okay.
so a lot of fire. And I was really insecure as a child. I was a really sickly child. Um, and I think part of that made me not feel like I fit in. Like I would miss like 20 something days of school a year, be homesick for big chunks of time, and then like the whole structure of the block, like you'd be sick for 2 weeks and then like your best friend was friends with someone else then, like you feel like you missed so much. And so I always felt I needed to like prove myself. I didn't feel like I really fit in. And so I was very defensive as a child and a young adult for sure. I needed to prove to everyone that I could do it, that you didn't need to coddle me. I wasn't that sickly kid anymore, even though I sort of was, which was really challenging, because of the image of myself wasn't. But the more work, Martina and I met volunteering on landmark education, and that was the late 90s. So that was, I'd say like my late 20s was when I started this ontological, work on myself and the conversations I'm having about myself and the stories I've made up about what really happened with versus the story going on in my head, right? And so having new tools to help me see that definitely brought me to a more confident place in myself. And the more confident I was in myself, the less I really cared what others thought about me, right? The more confident I was with the journey I was on, the more compassion I had for other people's journeys, that I didn't have to take their judgment so personally anymore, right? Like the four agreements was a huge one, right? Like so simple and easy. Four simple rules I can live by, right? Like don't take things personally, do things to the best of your ability. Like, just breaking life down so simply made it easier for me to um be easier with myself, and the easier I was with myself, the easier it was to be compassionate with others. And so it just and it's all practice, right? And I'm a human. Am I perfect every day? Do I beat myself up still at times? Of course. But can I catch myself quicker now? Absolutely. I'm not going to go in my hermit hole for a whole month. Maybe go there for a few days, and then I'm going to be like, I might need some help, gang. Like, who wants to play? Who wants to help? But yeah, that's my version of it. Martina, I'm sure you have a different version.
Well, as you were talking, one of the things I was thinking of about was, yes, there's definitely in the work that I've been doing in kind of call it shedding the weight of, my past and my upbringing and my, like coming back to myself more and more. There is much less having to defend. And there's always more areas that open up, right? There's just the next level and the next level and the next level, right? And to explore and to dive into, we were talking a little bit about before we came on about the relationship to men and how I noticed that sometimes I have this like anger, right? And it's like, wow, okay, so there's the next level of the healing that needs to happen, so I can just be more detached and more open, like have a more open heart, right? Ultimately, I think it never ends. We signed up for this journey and it never ends. um, I think that would be my answer to your question.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just different things. And it is, the other thing is it turns a little bit from defending to standing up for, which is it's a completely different feel.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you were saying too, Christina, with in terms of the confidence, I think confidence shifts defensiveness for us, because what you're saying, Martina, it's no longer that we're defending ourselves. We are confidently standing in our truth. And so we're standing up for what we believe in and not defending it. It's like this is something that I work on a lot in my life, is the lack mentality versus the abundance mindset. And I think the lack mentality has me in defensive mode, where I feel like I need to defend my actions, my choices, my perceptions, my behaviors, my dreams. But standing up for what I believe in, that's me saying, I own this. This is mine. I don't need to
Yeah,
defend it.
I think the other piece too that goes along with what I was saying is that that trusting that the universe is always working out, right? Like there's the perfect timing of it. I that piece for me was huge, right? Like just knowing the universe has my back and everything's always working out. And that piece with the confidence was it, right? If I can just trust that everything's always working out for me, then there is nothing ever to fear. There's nothing to worry about. It's just, what am I creating today? And that's really it. Like,
Of course.
And there's another part, there's that you don't have to justify.
Right.
because the moment like defense and justification go hand in hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're holding hands. You know, the moment you justify, you're gonna have to just armor up and, you know, get into this really masculine mode and fight the universe, right?
Yes.
So yeah. Okay, let's go into a very, very different topic. Okay. Tell us a funny, silly, or embarrassing story.
Okay. My funny story is very concurrent to today. Okay. So, my wife grew up loving the movie The Grinch. Okay? Loves the movie The Grinch, holiday classic. You know, it's just one of those movies that gets put on every year, multiple times a year leading up to Christmas and then even after Christmas. Loves the movie. I think this happens to people and it's hysterical to me. But when you love something, someone gives you a gift resembling that love, right? And then someone else comes into your home and sees that you have these items in your house. Well, you must love them. And so then they think, well, their birthday's coming up. I'll give them another item that I know is in their home. Well, this started for us about 10 years ago. And it has now gotten to the point where my home, there is a 20-foot blow up Grinch in front of my house. My Christmas tree is not a Christmas tree. It is a Grinch tree. It is a lime green, curved at the top, bells and whistles coming off of it Grinch tree. Beside this Grinch tree is a 9-foot tall, dancing, life size Grinch that sings its own song and literally shuffles its feet. And everywhere else is, you know, Grinch Max all over. And it's just hysterical because one of my very closest and dearest friends down the street, if you walk into her home, it's owls everywhere. And we nearly peed ourselves because she hasn't bought a single owl for herself. But if you look around her house, you would think she loves owls. But she doesn't. People just think she loves owls because her whole house is decorated in owls. And so my embarrassing but funny, but it's not actually that embarrassing story is just that I have an infestation of Grinch in my home and it's hysterical and it has become our winter personality.
That is so funny. Yeah.
And it's funny how people latch on to, you know, like, oh, you love this? Let me give you more and more. And finally you're like, oh, okay, I cannot stand it anymore. You know.
Ad nauseum. Yeah, it's like, okay, I did love this thing. I did. I really did. But it's still so funny. We still love it. And truly, it is my in-laws that give us the majority of these Grinch things. And it's so sweet. And I don't know how they manage to outdo themselves every single year with a larger Grinch item, but they do. It's very impressive. It's very impressive.
I love it. I love it. Well, talking about impressive, what's your superpower?
Oh, okay. So that's a really hard question to answer modestly. That's challenging.
You can brag all you want and you can have more
Yeah,
than
right?
one.
It's
Just
And you
not
can
all
have
go
more
ahead.
than one, too.
Go
like
ahead.
why do I need permission to be proud of something that I really do feel like is my superpower? I don't know, but I'll ask myself that later in my journal. My answer to that is going to be my voice, my singing voice. I do feel as though I came into this world with a superpower of my voice being my channel for Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that I have found my niche in masses, in singing for weddings and funerals. because I've always infused my faith and my love for God and my spirituality in my music, but now it's really holy, really, really holy. And as much as there's elements of, religion that are challenging for a queer person, I myself have my own relationship with my religion and talk about not defending it. I don't need to defend it. I stand in it and I stand up for it, that lesbians can have a wonderful relationship with God, and we do. And no one will ever tell us otherwise. And I have a beautiful relationship with Jesus Christ, and no one is ever going to take that away from me. No written statute, no, nothing is going to take that away from me. So I love being in the church because I can be there with my own relationship. And I might not necessarily agree enthusiastically with all things church, but I can agree enthusiastically with the Holy Spirit being in the room and channeling that unconditional love through song and being able to deliver that into a direct avenue into someone's heart is through their ears or through their senses, whether it's visual or, cooking someone a meal or doing something that is loving. My superpower is that I can get right into someone's heart through song and evoke emotion, help them release something that has been stuck or stored, help them feel again, help them feel their loved one's presence, help them to emote and feel again or feel more if they already are feeling. So channeling the Holy Spirit through song, I think is my superpower.
Mm. Well, it's so, and I've heard you sing, and it's really, really beautiful. And immediately what comes is, do you have a recording that we can put in the notes for people to like to share with people so they can just
Yes, you
Experience.
experience it?
yes, you
Yes,
can go
please.
right to my YouTube page, Sophia Lily, and I've got quite a few recordings there from live services that I've sung, and you can lean in with me right there.
Mm,
Yeah,
beautiful. So we're going to put that in the notes afterwards.
thank you.
So Sophia, what made you who you are today? For example, what was your biggest lesson, or what took the most courage, or when did you stand up for something that mattered to you?
That's such a great question, and thank you for asking that. I I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I am an open book about my experiences. And the way that I want to answer that question, I do want to share with listeners that I will be touching on a topic that might be hard for some listeners. So please know that I am about to talk about pregnancy loss, and that if that is something that is challenging for you, I definitely want to let you know that that's where I'm going to be going with this question. And it may be emotional for me and it may be emotional for you. So please, if you do listen, know that that is where I'm going with this question. So that has made me who I am today. And we experienced a loss of a beautiful little pregnancy um, in June of last year. And I have been a very cracked open human being for my entire life. I absorb, I'm a sponge. I go into all of my experiences willing to learn, willing to reflect on myself, willing to go the distance, learn the lesson, absorb the knowledge, get the wisdom, share it. Going through a pregnancy loss was huge for me because of my relationship with life. I have such a strong connection to life that to have life growing inside of me and then experience the loss of that was one of the biggest lessons and one of the biggest experiences that I've gone through in my life. So when you ask, what is it that made me who I am today? That really does come into the equation for me, because that experience changed me as a person. I can be very flighty and airy and, ethereal in the stratosphere. And that was a very grounding experience that really brought me down to earth, and even, kind of below a little bit too, feeling those despair tones. And, you also asked what took the most courage. That did. That took the most courage. I didn't really have a choice. And so I didn't have a choice of whether or not to, go forward. That was just a part of the journey. But it took courage to be open about it and share the story of what I've learned. And it also takes courage, I think, still to remain receptive to what I'm still learning about that experience. And there's so much more that I can say, but maybe if you have any questions about it, it'll help me to kind of direct where I'm going, because it's such a thick topic, right, that I could spend an entire episode just talking on specifically. So is there anything that you would like to know about what I learned from that experience?
So you said you were very flighty before. Does that mean that it changed you in your, like you said, you became grounded? What does that mean? Right? I imagine you're a star seed. So, you know, because we're surrounded by star seeds, I imagine you're a star seed. So,
Yeah, I'm a very emotional person. And I think when you go through something that's that large of a loss and that large of an experience, you got to bring in some logic. You have to logically think about what you're going through. And as such an emotional person, that flightiness is me being very in my feelings and, kind of going from one emotion to the next emotion and just kind of feeling all along the way. I think what changed for me from and it was both my wife and I that went through this, together. So I do want to say my wife and I going through this experience is that it brought on so much logic for me. And I have now almost interwoven emotion with logic, which was not something that I really had before that experience. I was just all emotion, a little logic here and there. But I have woven now logic and emotion together. And that's been a big transformation for me. It has really opened up a lot of doors of understanding and just a different perception. Different
so in a
perception.
way, like what I hear is like it's, everything comes bearing gifts, right? And that was
Yes.
one of the gifts. Now, the other question I have for you is how did it impact your faith? Like, because there is a thing about trust, right? Can you trust that it was exactly what needed to happen, right? And it's like, well, no, no, what's
Yes.
that, right? But but
Hmm.
but how did that impact your faith?
I'm so grateful that you just asked that. Thank you. So our first loss was from an embryo transfer. So we are a same-sex couple, and we wanted to have our children through what's called shared conception. And that is for two women, where one woman can go through the IVF process of extracting the eggs, and the other woman can carry the pregnancy. And it's called a shared conception. And that is how we wanted to bring life into this world together. So we transferred one of my wife's embryos, and I carried that embryo. And that was the life that we lost. That was the pregnancy that we lost. And it was a very it was a very devastating loss for a lot of reasons. Yes, the life, but also I'm sure some couples that have had to go through IVF can resonate with this. It's a financial load. It's upwards of $30,000 financial load, and insurance does not always cover that for you. And so you are paying out of pocket a lot of money to have these transfers. So when we lost our first transfer, my mind was immediately on the next transfer. And while I was healing and recovering from this loss and moving through those emotions, I had this mentality that the next embryo transfer was the solution and was the fix. And that I just had to get through what I was getting through because the next embryo was going to work and we were just going to have our baby. And so I didn't really need to worry about it. So I went for a walk and I heard my angels say, "You're ready. Do the transfer." I said, "Really? You're sure? Okay. All right." We did the transfer. It didn't take. I never got pregnant. When I got that result, that blood test result, and I was in the kitchen with my wife and I erupted in a manner that is so foreign to me. I erupted and I went out on the deck and I shook my fist at the sky and I said, "God, you lied to me. Angels, how could you do this to me? I trusted you. You told me it was time. I believed you." I rushed inside. I put on my sneakers, hit the road, feet to the pavement, because all I could do was just run. And the whole time I was just cursing my angels. And this, me, someone who loves my angel team. And I've never been so mad at my own faith. And it took me months to recover and to re-establish my faith in my team. And all along, they were saying, "We love you. We love you. We're here for you when you're ready. When you're ready, you'll know it was never up to us. We were just there to hold you no matter what." So months and months later, when we switched it up. We switched up, instead of trying IVF, which is transferring of a embryo, we switched it up to IUI, which is just insemination of my body, insemination of my naturally occurring egg with the same donor. So our children would still be related, but we just switched it up. We were just going to try something different. I didn't get pregnant. We tried in February, I didn't get pregnant. We tried in March, I didn't get pregnant. This is where my faith really has spoken to me. And again, this is going to get deep, and I'm moving on to a new warning that now I'm going to be talking about cancer. I'm going to be talking about my family's journey regarding cancer. In June, I found out that my dad has leukemia. And I have been my dad's #1 advocate for everything. I have gone with him to his chemotherapy appointments. I stood by him the 31 days that he was in the hospital battling infections. I show up for him. I take him to his appointments. I call his doctors. I have a full-time job helping my father, who's only 67 years old, he's a young man, battle this leukemia journey. And we're nowhere near done. We've just been graduated essentially to another hospital because the chemotherapy is not working and we need to move on to clinical trials now. I would not be able to do any of this for my father if I had a newborn baby at home. I would not be able to do what I'm doing that might be saving my father's life if I had a little baby who I needed to save the life of and curate the life of and raise. I can take care of my dad because I'm not taking care of a baby. Had you told me that a year ago, when I was shaking my fist at the sky saying, "Why am I not pregnant, God? I'm going to be a great mom. Why are you doing this?" I would have never believed you. I would have said no. I hated it when people said everything happens for a reason. I despised that phrase. When people said it's all in God's plan, I hated it. I said, I know it is because it's happening, but you don't have to tell me that. I was so mad. And it took a year and a half later to stand here and say, I see you, God. I see your plan. I know now. I didn't know then. So that's my biggest lesson. You don't know why things are so hard. And you don't know what's around the corner. And you don't know what God might be setting you up for next. It could be harder. It could be easier. I could have been offered a tour. I could have been offered a tour to Europe. But instead, I was offered the opportunity to unconditionally love my dad and show up for him in every way, shape, and form when he needs me the most. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be, whatever happens with your dad, right? The gift that you are to him and the gift to you to be able to be there is so big, right?
Yes.
And of course, like I'm rooting for you that he lives, but should he not, right? Should that not be in the plans, right? In the divine plans, you're like, it's such a gift, right? It's like, it's a gift that you get to spend the time with him.
Absolutely.
Just so
Absolutely.
beautiful and so precious, right? It's like the no regrets, right? When my mom was sick in the hospital in Argentina and almost dying, and I'm like, I'm on the next plane. I don't care. And my brother said, well, if you think you're gonna regret not coming, it's too late anyway. And I'm like, it's for me to decide. I need to live with myself. I need to do
Yes.
this
Yes.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really that, like, that's part of what I hear. It's like, for me, that's what I need to do. I need to be here for him.
Absolutely.
No regrets. No
Yes.
regrets.
And I get to. I
Mm.
get to prioritize my father. I get to be there for him without all other distractions get to be placed on hold. My music lessons, my students have been so flexible with me. The work that I do with the wonderful medium healer author Jeannie Street, I work hand in hand with her, hosting retreats, helping her with her work, her amazing messages that she channels. And I get to be there for my dad because she is so forgiving in take the time. And everything else can just be rearranged. But a baby, you can't say to a baby, hey, I'm gonna need you to feed yourself tonight. I gotta go take care of my dad. Can we reschedule this to next Tuesday? I couldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But I never, ever, ever would have known then what I know now.
And I can tell you from experience, your energy would have been split, and then there would have been some guilt and some shame and some, because you cannot dedicate your all fully into one place or the other because
Of course.
you're so split. So
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing so deeply and so vulnerably. It's just, I'm here cheering you on. I always was. And she's coming. I know she's coming. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I feel it. I feel it. Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Christina. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So, Sophia, what fills you up? You give to so many people. What recharges your battery so that you can be that person who's there for your dad and for everyone else in your world?
Friendship. Friendship. Ah, I have, oh, I've got some seriously remarkable humans that sit on my couch and wait for me to come home from work to just bounce off the couch and come hug me. That show up with freshly baked bread and flowers and send cards in the mail and hold me and call me. And I just love friendship. I am so blessed to have girlhood in my life. And honestly, quality time with my wife and my dog. I just adore the life that we have created and those still moments, sitting by the fire, drinking the cup of coffee. Oh, those gentle moments that you can spend with the people that you love, my family included, that fills me up. Oh, putting the phone in another room, not answering any emails, being in the woods, swimming in water, being in the nature, the elements and humans. I just love the people in my life. I'm so lucky. They fill me up.
Beautiful. So, Sophia, if you had a magic wand and you could give people any quality, what would it be and why?
So, hmm. It's interesting. I have a gut instinct. I have my gut response is one way, and maybe if I chewed on it a little bit more, I'd develop on something else. But I just want to give us all enoughness. That's so strange.
Mm.
I feel like so much of our problems come from greed. And greed must stem from not feeling like you have enough. Why else would you want more? More property, more wealth, more anything. If you had enough, you wouldn't need more. And I don't know what the world would look like if we all had enough, if our needs were met. But I think that I would want to do that. I would want for every human being to have their needs met, their enoughness, their dreams. That's another thing, right? And that there might be some greed in their dreams depending on what they want for themselves. But just this level of plenty. What we have is enough. Bellies full, roof over the head, love. I would just want every human being to know love and to have their needs met. I think we would be a very, very different world if there wasn't that level of greed and if we were all just satisfied in some capacity, right? Satisfied in some capacity. But I think that's how I initially want to answer that question.
I love that image. And so for me, when I was listening to you saying that, it made me think, like, if we felt like we were enough, would we really want so much more? I think we want more stuff because we don't feel we are enough. So then
Right.
we want more stuff, right? But when we feel we're enough, we don't need all that stuff around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What if all we wanted was what we needed?
Yeah.
And I think that marketing knows that. They know that if you don't feel as though you're good enough, you will buy that product to make yourself feel more valuable, more worthy, more important.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, commercialism would definitely change. That is for sure.
It feels like it comes down to feeling worthy and deserving of love. That's what I hear in what you're saying.
Yeah. And that if everyone did know love, because there's a lot of humans walking this planet that do not know unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I I plead that someone crosses their path that demonstrates unconditional love to them, because every human being deserves to know unconditional love. That's where we came from. And we've forgotten. And I just would love for every single one to know that. And I think that's, to bring it back to the top, why I want to leave people better than I found them. I want them to know unconditional love. And I'll stop at nothing to demonstrate that, though I do have to also do some people-pleasing work on the other side of it to not overgive. I just would love for everyone to know what unconditional love feels like and to have it for themselves.
Yeah, what a difference it would make in the world.
Agreed.
All right, last question. What do you want people to remember about you?
Again, complicated question, right? It's like, oh God, where do I begin? You know, I don't want to just be nice. I don't want to just be, oh, she was so nice. I think I want to be remembered as kind. Kindness is different than niceness. It's different than pretty. It's different than good. Kind is, it's just different. It has a resonance to it that is loving. That's that unconditional love. So I would just hope that they remember me as a kind human who's good at singing, hopefully.
I was going to say, who had a beautiful voice.
Hopefully they also, maybe they don't remember what I said or what I sang or what I spoke about, but I hope that they remember, and I know they will, how I made them feel. And I hope that I've made them feel love.
Right, I totally will get that. There's no question about that. So beautiful. You have a business. Do you want to tell us about it?
Sure.
Maybe you have an offer, tell us how people can contact you. And we're going to put it all in the notes, but if you could just give us a rundown of what you do and if anybody's interested, how they could find you.
Sure. So I do a lot of different things, but my music lessons is definitely at the forefront of what I do because it is where I can incorporate my intuitive channeling into the music world and bring that to people. So I offer virtual lessons for anyone that is not in the state of Connecticut. I am in the state of Connecticut, but virtually I have been teaching for 4 years and we can get a lot done. And you can do a one-off lesson, or you can set up some packages and we can talk about it. I offer voice lessons, I offer piano lessons, and I infuse all that I know about the soul in my lessons. So if you're going to take a lesson from me, know that we're going to be talking about your soul and we are going to be pulling out the best of the best from you. And we're going to be talking about the things that stand in your way and block you from standing in your truth confidently. So that is my work of an angel healer and a musician all together. You can also hire me for weddings and funerals. I will travel. I'm happy to travel. And I am full right now with clients for the content creation, but you can always get on my wait list if you'd like a little bit of assistance in sharing the message of your brand and putting out content on your social media. I can help you with the film and the photography and things like that. But I have a wait list going now, so you can get in touch with me about that as well. So there's a lot of different offers that I have.
And where can they find you? So what's the best way? You talked about the YouTube channel. You have a website, right?
I do not have a website, but you can just send me an email, Sophia, Sophia, Lily, Lily, designs, DESIGNS @gmail.com. You can send me an email and we will connect further.
Beautiful. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm so excited to show you to the world. Right, Christina? We're just like, we're always
Absolutely.
excited, and it just was really beautiful. And your vulnerable sharing was just so, so special. And just go check her out. Go on her YouTube. It's going to be in the links down in the notes. And thank you for all of you out there, all of you who've been listening. And if you love this, please share it. Please share it with your friends. Please leave us a review. And go check out Sophia. Okay. And please always remember that you are extraordinary. You rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye for now. Sophia, do you want to say goodbye?
Yes, thank you everyone for listening. I hope to connect with you again. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.